Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome at the English news program here at Ora News. And now, the nice news. The owner of a car service shop in Tirana was shot dead this morning from one of his customers. Florian Salmani, 33 years old, was working as usual in his shop in the area of former airfield in the capital, when around 11 a.m. he was shot twice from an officer of the State Intelligence Service. The conflict started a few days ago when Jevair Mziga went to Salmani's shop to buy a tire for his car. The tire was bought 2 days ago, burst while the officer of the State Intelligence Service was traveling, and this caused the conflict which led to the death of the 33-year-old. Police sources stated that Mziga, who was accompanied by his brother, argued with the owner of the car repair shop and then returned to kill the 33-year-old. Sources stated that Mziga took the pistol in his home and fired twice in the direction of the owner of the shop, leaving him seriously injured. The 33-year-old man died on his way to hospital due to severe wounds from the firearm. The police suspects that the officer of the State Intelligence Service has used his service gun to commit the crime, but the experts will determine whether it is the same weapon or not. The police forces have arrived at the crime scene and have declared wanted the perpetrator, who has not yet been arrested. The murder has shocked the residents of the neighborhood, and some of the witnesses have testified to the police to uncover the causes of this grave incident. The secretary of the Socialist deputy in Saranda, Kosovos, Agron Cane, was arrested today on charges of sexual harassment to a minor. The mother of the minor was the one who pressed charges against Cane, who wanted to have sexual relationships with a minor in exchange for a job to her mother. Reliable sources from the police department stated that Cane was called to testify regarding a video that shows a conversation between the secretary of the Socialist deputy, Kosovos, and a woman who wanted to apply for a job. The video shows Cane, who requested the mother of 4 children to have sex with her minor daughter in exchange for a job. Sources from the police department stated that the conversation was made on the 2nd floor of the Socialist Party local headquarters, located near the coastal city of Saranda. After this event, the Democratic Party has immediately reacted and requested from the state police to take immediate measures and protect the victims of this psychological assault. According to the deputy of the Democratic Party, Arben Ristani, the prosecution must immediately intervene and put an end to what's happening in Saranda. The closest accomplice of Minister Rama, Kosovos, and his maniac friends want to close this case, stated the deputy of the Democratic Party, Arben Ristani. The police officers of Tirana have arrested one of the perpetrators of the theft in the jewelry store owned by the daughter of Rapo Sinane, who was killed during a similar robbery in 2011. The police of Tirana announced today that the arrest of Klodian Hoxha was made at Jordan Misja Street. The robbery took place on the 6th of August when 2 armed men entered into the jewelry store of Sinane and took valuable items whose value was about €50,000. The perpetrators then escaped in front of the eyes of many witnesses who were threatened by the armed men. The first perpetrator of the robbery was arrested on the 10th of August, while the other one was arrested today. Andrea Bregasi was caught in an apartment in Duros, where he was hiding after the robbery. After the arrest, the police found and seized the motorbike that was used in the robbery of about €50,000 in Olta Sinane's jewelry store, who was also injured during the time of the robbery. A 24-year-old Albanian citizen was killed during the fighting in Syria on the morning of August 15th. Police sources stated that the citizen, Idayet Ali Bahiu, who had been a resident in the village of Dragostanje in Librasht, about 8 kilometers from Elbasan, was killed during the fighting in Syria. Some time ago, he left Albania along with his family to go and fight in Syria. The Albanian media stated that his name used during the war was Ebu Derda Shami, which means the son of Derda Shami. Shami is the area that involves Palestine, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and Jordan. The 24-year-old, born on May 10th of 1990, was killed during a battle in Aleppo nearly a week ago. His friends said that his life was lost for the fight for jihad. It is learned that the victim from Librajdi had finished a secondary education in Tirana and the higher studies in Saudi Arabia, where he is believed to be indoctrinated. Until now, the number of Albanians from Kosovo killed in Syria has gone over 14. The tourist season and the settlement of beach areas of Drimades and Borshi were at the center of a conversation of the Prime Minister Edi Rama with the local residents of these cities. During his first stop in Dermi, Rama visited the Camp of Volunteers, which is an initiative of the National Agency Coast to clean beaches, collaboration between the armed forces, volunteers, and other members of civil society. The Prime Minister said that thanks to this work, the coast is much cleaner compared to previous years. In a meeting with residents and local leaders of Dermi, the Prime Minister announced to residents that an international competition for the new Himara coast and the rehabilitation of its village will open in September, and the final goal is the economic development of regenerated Himara through the new territorial reform. Later, Prime Minister Rama continued his visit to Borshi, whose beach entry, which will now be made through the new road of Qazim Pali. In the meeting with residents of Borshi, Rama talked about the effects that the new territorial division will have on these communities. We believe that by next year, after we have made some investments, we can talk about more things. This year, we put at the disposal of this area an investment that is not made in many years taken together. In the energy system, in the roads, and to the first model of new urban development, as is the promenade of Sheparo that starts at the end of this month, said Prime Minister Edi Rama. The head of the Albanian government also announced several government plans to invest in this area. The implementation of the project of rehabilitation of power supply throughout the area has already begun. There are 2 new substations to be built, and their funding has been already guaranteed. Thus, we believe that eventually we will solve the big problem that you encounter during the tourist season, said Prime Minister Edi Rama. All those students whose average was above 6 can enter now public universities during the next year. Specifically, 76% of students who recently completed the Form A2 will now enter in public universities. In total, we allocated 19,200 quotas so that any students who had the average grade over 6 would enter universities. We have allocated sufficient public places for 76% of students who completed a second form in recent years, said the Vice Minister of Education, Arbian Mazniku. He held a press conference today to explain why were adopted 19,000 quotas from 29,000 quotas that were adopted last year. He also rejected the accusations of the Democratic Party associated with the closure of state university subsidiaries. In comparison with quotas required by universities, so 22,000 quotas, 2,800 less quotas were approved, he said, indicating the reason why this step was taken. We have decided not to approve quotas for 25 studying problems, which had less than 10 students in the 213-214 academic year, for 14 programs of study where students had their average grade below 5.5, for 23 programs of public subsidiaries suspended by the government, and for 13 programs at the Academy of Arts of Shkodra, he said. According to Mazniku, if these students would be oriented to professional schools today, they would have started a job. Speaking about the fee increase, Mazniku said that the request of university senates was respected. The deputy of the Democratic Party, Gens Polo, said that the Prime Minister of Albania, Edi Rama, is trying to protect the counterfeiter of the Ministry of Education. He said that while those who hope on the Renaissance would have liked that the chief inspector, who forgets all with a fake degree in hands, to have been dismissed by the government that appointed her. But happened the contrary of what the fans would have liked and the opponents did not expect. Polo said that not the Ministry of Education, but the Prime Minister Rama became the shield of the donator counterfeit. I do not think he has personal reliability. I tend to think that with this gesture, Rama decided protection for members of the government who can come up with fake degrees and similar problems. In the Europe where we want to integrate, as often as Mr. Rama says, state employees resign even due to plagiarism in their work. As for the Vice Minister, without CV, once the scandal of the counterfeiters chief inspector broke, he hurried to remove his CV from the website of the ministry. I would say that the virus of the disappearance of his CV is also affecting other governmental websites. As for education reforms, the government would be honored if it would have done only 10% of positive changes of that time. It would be honored even if it would have consolidated what has achieved, said Polo. Referring to private universities, he said that 39% of private universities are closed by the government and 61% are allowed to continue their work. The deputy of the Democratic Party, Polo, said that the ministry has not made public yet the report with the findings of violations for each university. Concluding his speech, the Democratic member of the parliament said, "How can the government explain the fact that it continues to call pyramids most of private universities that it found without violations?" The autumn season will be a very important period for the Democratic Party, not only for the political action within and outside the parliament, but also a very important period for its organization. At the beginning of September, a period where the National Council is expected to convene, the status of the largest opposite force in the country, the Democratic Party, will be subject of radical change and quite important, where the instruction of President Basha passed before the election process will be as a starting point. For internal changes in the constitution, sources of Ora News and the Democratic Party claim that this political force has set up a working group and has made the first step for possible interventions. The article that sanctions the political cost of the party leader in case of a defeat in the parliamentary election is expected to be the spark that will ignite the internal debate in the Democratic Party. Meanwhile, it is also learned that the fact that branch managers will not have the opportunity to compete in electoral processes for deputies and mayors would be provided in the statute, and if they would be proposed for these processes, they should automatically submit the mandate of the chairman of the branch. Changes are announced in the functioning of the secretariats as well, which will be part of the party structures. It is also anticipated that the secretariats should be proposed by the presidency of the Democratic Party. Another issue that is expected to change is that of the organization scheme of the working groups at the regional level. The National Assembly is expected to convene at the beginning of September. It will elect the National Council and the chairmanship of the Democratic Party, which already feels fresh to do the task for which the citizens have mandated. The changes in the statute of the Democratic Party are worn by the chairman of the party, Luzim Basha, from the moment he became the leader of the largest opposition force in the country. The Minister of Culture, Mirela Cumbaro, inspected the work at Mother Teresa Square, which is being reconstructed on the occasion of the visit of Pope Francis in Tirana on the 21st of September. Minister Cumbaro, in a media statement, reiterated the importance of this visit and stressed the commitment of the Albanian government for organizing the receptions of the Holy Father. The work are continuing not only on the Mother Teresa Square, but in 3 other points in Tirana, within the preparations that the Albanian state and the government are doing on the occasion of the visit of Pope Francis on the 21st of September. In cooperation with the municipality of Tirana, we have removed the fountain, and it is being worked for the leveling and site rehabilitation. The works are being carried out in parallel on several fronts as time moves quickly, said the Minister of Culture, Mirela Cumbaro. The minister also inspected the works in the premises of the Palace of Congresses, which will be the media center for the Albanian and foreign journalists who will attend the Pope's visit to Tirana. The Pope will come with 70 journalists in his plane, but about 1,000 foreign journalists from international voice stations, which are accredited to be present in Albania that day, are expected to come on that day, said the Minister of Culture. Another item that will undergo rehabilitation is the National Museum, which is being restored on its outside part, as well as remedial work on the internal parts. Morina and Muriciani are two cross-border points that have faced the largest number of tourists, not only from Kosovo, but also from other countries of Europe. State police issued a statement on the progress of the tourist season and the influx of inputs and outputs in our country. According to the police, there was an increase in the number of foreign nationals who have entered Albania from the 1st to the 15th of August. The border chief, Gens Murepeza, said that the largest inflows were observed in traditional crossings, Kakavia, Kapshtica, and from the port of Durrës and Morina, where there have been a rise of Kosovo Albanians who come in Albania for vacations. We have worked in cooperation with the border police, and measures are added given the rising influx. We have added more employees at border crossings with high influx. We have provided assistance on the beaches as well. During the month of July, over 70,000 citizens have entered in Albanian territory. The flow was higher during the period of the 1st to the 15th of June, which is the peak tourist season, said Murepeza. The Court of Vlora gave today the security measures in prison custody to 3 suspects as the perpetrators of the murder of Denis Vyshka 2 days ago in Dermi. Ervis Zylfaj, 24 years old, Altini Meraj, 35 years old, and Miklovan Symeraj, 20 years old, are accused of the murder of the waiter in qualifying circumstances. Ervis Zylfaj, Altini Meraj were co-owners of the bar Taste of the Sea, where the young man had begun working as a waiter only a few days ago, while Miklovan Symeraj was the chef. A few hours after the murder committed on the 14th of August 2014, Altini Meraj, one of the owners of the bar, called the police to report the loss of the amount of 500,000 lek. The police of Vlora, which has given this detail, has announced that from the preliminary investigations there are reasonable grounds to believe that the waiter was killed before he became the denouncement. Yesterday's police statements show that Altini Meraj, one of the owners, called the operational service of Vlora Police Department to report the loss of 500,000 new lek. The body of the victim was found around 10:50. Forensic expertise will specify the precise time of his assassination, but from preliminary investigation, there are reasonable grounds to believe that the 28-year-old man was killed before the loss of the money was denounced in the police of Vlora. Denis Vyshka from Elbasan was found dead in the morning of the 14th of August in Dermi. He was hit with hard objects, and his body was thrown about 300 meters from the bar, where he worked as a waiter. Police arrested for his killing 2 co-workers of the bar, Taste of the Sea in Dermi, and the cook Miklovan Symeraj. In collaboration, they had hit him to death, accusing him of the loss of 500,000 new lek. The National Urban Construction Inspectorate has returned in the city of Vlora. In the early hours of Saturday's morning, the inspectorate has destroyed some buildings and fences in the area of Skela. The action is done to end informal settlements. In this area, 4 buildings were demolished, mainly car wash and fences. In some cases, the interventions are made to raise all that was left of its previous interventions. The action has also continued on Saturday morning. The police forces were present during the interventions. The action did not pass without debates and clashes after the owners opposed the demolition of their buildings. The owners claim that they have all the necessary documentation to show that these buildings are legitimate. After that, Vlora police accompanied the owners in the police station. The inspectorate confirms that each object affected by Lungomare project will be demolished. summer season has brought a great influx of local and foreign tourists in the area of Ksamil. Those who have not reserved earlier could not enjoy the coast. The beach of Ksamil has no more capacity to host more guests. The same things happens for the hotels in which the accommodation is possible. The mayor of Ksamili, Besnik Abedini, said that the increase of the number of beaches and of the capacity of accommodation in hotels is necessary. According to Abedini, about 50,000 visitors are present in Ksamil during a day, during the peak season. According to the mayor, the half of the coastline is unused. It is known that Ksamili coastline is rocky, and in order to make it efficient to achieve an increasing of the retention capacity of the beaches, the vision and support of advanced and contemporary studios is necessary. The Kosovos Chamber of Commerce issued a press conference today where it appeals to national and international institutions to use their influence on European embassies in Kosovo in order to have more understanding toward Kosovo business, and that the refusal to issue visas for them damages economic processes in Kosovo. The Kosovo Chamber of Commerce says that this year European embassies in Kosovo have taken rigorous measures in issuing visas for the citizens of Kosovo. According to them, this phenomenon damages the economic aspect of Kosovo, as Kosovo's businessmen must go through a number of long procedures to obtain a visa. According to the Kosovo's Chamber of Commerce, such approach by European embassies to Kosovo businesses damages the economic aspect in Kosovo, the image of Kosovo, and they oblige many to resort to other solutions. According to the Kosovo's Chamber of Commerce, if such barriers exist, then there cannot be transfer of technology and advances in the know-how system and an improvement of trade between Kosovo and the European Union. The Prime Minister of Serbia, Aleksandar Vučić, stated today that no one has the intention or desire to stop his country from the path of the European Union. According to him, introduction of Schengen visa for Serbian citizens is not realistic. We respect Europe, we want to be part of it, but we ask that Serbia's voice is respected and to preserve our national identity and integrity, Vučić said in an interview with Dnevne Novosti when asked if Brussels will terminate Serbia's European integration unless it turned its back on Moscow. Vučić reiterated that Serbia will not change its position towards Russia and believes this will not endanger the European road. We will always respect the views of others, but people elected us to implement a policy of Serbian interest and not interest of foreign countries. This is our answer today and will be tomorrow, he added. Vučić said that Germany never asked Serbia not to interfere with the presence of Kosovo in the United Nations and called claims to the contrary speculations. I believe in the word of Angela Merkel, and I'm confident that Serbia will open chapters 32 and 35 even during this year, Vučić said, adding that it was not true that entry of Serbs to the Kosovo's parliament represented indirect recognition of the so-called state of Kosovo. And that was the English news edition prepared for today. Have a great evening. See you on Monday. Good night.